guys, it's Leanna Rupert. I am currently working as a CM for the Fallout TV show. I don't know why I stumbled on that sentence. That's a good start to this video.
Great. Really great.
Ignore the weirdly high amount of makeup. I don't usually wear that kind of stuff on streams because I am tired of, if you do, or if you dare to show the boobish, you're not a real gamer. So just disclaimer, the makeup is for another project I'm working on, and I'm not wiping. This took forever, man, okay? I'm not wiping it off just because people are weird. So just bear with it, I guess. So today we are talking about Helldivers 2. We're going to be talking a little bit about the recent news that came out about a PlayStation account requirement that was just announced, and some of the reactions to it. I made a tweet earlier this morning in reaction when I was seeing a lot of the threats that the teams were getting. As if I'm a part of it. I was seeing just a lot of really similar behavior as some of the spicier side of the Destiny community, which we're used to it, but that doesn't mean it can't change if we don't lead by example and also encourage change to happen. And I'm just gonna go ahead and read that out because I'm not good at remembering shit, so I don't want to say it the wrong way. But all I said was, gamers, I'm begging, be reasonable in your feedback. The Helldivers team has been nothing but incredible to the community. Don't do what is usually done and burn all of that because you don't like a decision. Be respectful, concise, and objective as possible with your feedback. Heart hands. Followed up because people have a really difficult time reading, which I get. It's hard.
Reading is what? Fundamental.
Followed up just saying feedback and high volume trending sentiment will always be heard and directed where it needs to go. The community team is gathering everything to make a case for you. They are your ally. Being hateful, threatening, none of that helps. Be concise, be respectful, human to human. And then I 69 screenshot with nice because it was funny to me because I'm 5 apparently.
Nice.
Now I can't find my place. Okay, there it is. Found it. Obviously, you could probably conject that that was not received well.
Hide the pain.
It was surprisingly a spicy comment to make, which is very odd. It's very ironic when you're just making a call to give feedback, in no way even alluding to not giving feedback at all. Just do it without the F-bombs, do it without this cunt, calling people cunts, do it without the death threats. Oh my God, the fidgeting is already happening. I'm sorry, y'all. I tried. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit and show some of the reasons, the very valid criticisms that are coming out of this conversation and what are potential next steps. So before we go on, let's just read the message that came out that was deployed on Helldivers socials from the Sony Interactive team. That sign off is a very important distinction. Obviously give your feedback through the normal Helldivers channels, but just be aware that this is very clearly not a decision that they had a say in. However, it is also important to note that they did say on the Steam page back in January that this move was going to be happening. It was delayed because of technical reasons, but the way some people are acting is like this came out of nowhere. Also, mozzarella sticks. ADHD. Mozzarella sticks are good, man. You'll die on. So it's not like this news just came out of the blue, as some people are alluding to. Maybe it might be new to some people because they don't read updates, and that's totally fine. But the fact of the matter is it's not a new announcement. It's just the timing of it is new. But before we get into the valid criticisms and the other side of the conversation, let's talk about what the actual message itself said. So I'm going to post it up here, or maybe over here. I'll do it over here. That's a note to future me with editing. This is the message that you can see, so you can read along if you would like. But due to technical issues at the launch of Helldivers 2, we allowed the linking requirements for Steam accounts to a PlayStation Network account to be temporarily optional. That grace period will now expire. See details below in this post. Okay, really quick. So as somebody that used to write a lot of messaging for this stuff and knowing when to massage and when to be, I will say that I think a lot of people have been off-put by how brutally direct that intro is, because your intro is your sales pitch to the rest of whatever news is being delivered. And it is very, this is how it is, suck it up, buttercup. And that is automatically going to put people's hackles up. However, I will say that if a message is that direct going out of the gate, it likely, not saying not, because there's always the possibility, but it's likely not an oversight. It was very intentional. We've had to do this a couple times at Destiny. We also had to do this a couple times in just previous jobs where you know that all of the discussions, negotiation periods that have happened, likely this has been a very long conversation. Especially for big business decisions, these are not decisions made lightly. They're made with many discussions about risks, about ROI, about investor impact. Like there are a lot of conversations that go into this. So that intro tells me that they have been flagged with warnings about community sentiment regarding what this action is going to kind of inspire. And they have deemed this an acceptable risk. Does that mean it can't be changed? No, we actually got many things changed at Bungie that leadership deemed as acceptable risks, but the teams were not silent about it. And eventually we were able to kind of see a common ground and get certain things either axed or at least changed in a way that's going to be less aggressive. And that is the case with any game studio at all. These conversations are very important. But I just want to give context for that because I understand that could probably rub people the wrong way. But to me, that is a very strong indicator that this was a very long conversation that had many counterpoints to it that we as players will likely never see. Unless they feel like sharing. Helldivers team and leadership has done a really cool job at blowing away my expectations. Larian is the only other studio that I can think of that is even remotely similar in terms of how they speak with their community. So anyways, back to the actual message. Side tangents. Account linking plays a critical role in protecting our players and upholding the values of safety and security provided on PlayStation and PlayStation Studios games. This is our main way to protect players from griefing and abuse by enabling the banning of players that engage in that type of behavior. It also allows those players that have been banned the right to appeal. As of May 6th, all new Helldivers 2 players on Steam will be required to connect their Steam account to a PlayStation Network account, or PSN. Current players on Steam will start to see the mandatory login from May 30th and will be required to have a linked Steam and PlayStation Network account by June 4th. So you've got some time. You've got a month. PlayStation Network accounts are free and easy to set up, and they provide a link there. We understand while this may be an inconvenience to some of you, this step will help us to continue to build a community that you are all proud to be a part of. Many thanks for your continued support of Helldivers 2. Signed, the Sony Interactive team. This is, obviously, we knew it wasn't going to go over well regardless, even with the warning ahead. That's fine. That's fine. I think many people are doing a good job at providing very structured feedback. I don't want to harp too much on feedback delivery because I have, I think, 3 videos on this now with bad audio. We got the audio fixed, boys. We take that win.
It's a crazy feeling.
So if you want to go watch those, you're more than welcome to. They will be very helpful. I go into very specific detail about like Bungie processes and a lot of the things that players will never ever see the light of day of because you're not supposed to. Just like with TVs and movies, you are shown what you need to see as a consumer. You are not the product developer. You are not the TV crew. You are not da-da-da. You are the consumer. Your job is to consume, and for ongoing consumption like this, provide feedback for future consumption. That is your role as a player. That is my role as a Helldivers 2 player. So there's 2 sides to this conversation. And the reason I wanted to say that about bringing your feedback to a respectful level is because I do know that this is going to ruffle feathers and not for silly reasons. You know, a lot of people on either side of the conversation are doing as much as they can to discredit the other side. And I think that is not going to do anything but cause more contention and cause more defensiveness, which helps no one. Rip the community team. I hope y'all are drinking some water. Holy shit. But on one hand, this really isn't a big deal. Pause. But I will go into the reasons why it is a big deal for some here soon. But let me get just bear with me, okay? I already can see your hackles rising. This bitch. No, just give me a second. It's not a big deal because this is not a weird move. Microsoft is very known for doing this move and making this a requirement for games that are previously were Xbox exclusives and now are available on PC. Sea of Thieves is a really great example. Halo is another really great example. Ubisoft, EA. This is not a random idea and policy requirement that Sony just came up with for shits and giggles to be like, how can we make the community be pissed off today? I guarantee you that's not the case. Nobody wants that to happen. Sometimes there's out of touch things that are said, in-game marketing. That always happens to heirs to human, yada, yada, yada. But I can guarantee you that's not the case here. It is conversations we'll never see. There's probably some additional nuance that we also can't see here as well. And this is also secures that connection under that network. So having that been said, that the people that are acting like this is just Sony wanting to be a dick for some reason, this is not a new thing to gaming. So with that out of the way, there are a couple of different reasons why people do not want to be on board with this move. And who knows, it might be retracted, it might be changed, there may be, you never know. That the volume of feedback and happening right now that is leaning towards very negative is incredibly high. And investors, shareholders, they're gonna want to see that. They're gonna want to see what those conversations are looking like and how much is their staying power. Is this going to be a conversation that's going to come up every day, or is it going to be like usual news cycles where people are really pissed, it's the end of the world for a couple days, and then they move on to be pissed about the next end of the world? So that's a thing. There's the don't want to camp. I don't have a PlayStation. I don't like PlayStation. I don't have PlayStation games. I don't want another account to have to manage. I get it. If you have to make a new account, nobody likes doing that. It's annoying. It's a minor inconvenience. If that's the worst thing that happens to you today, you are very fortunate. There are literally people dying and fighting for their lives right now. However, there is two other aspects to this conversation that I think are worth talking about. One is Sony does not have the best track record with security. As security being the reason, security and griefing, of course, being a big reason why this decision was made. Looking back, that puts a lens on what Sony's security has looked like historically, and it's not good. Sony gets hacked more than anybody. When I was media, I feel like we had a betting pool of when was the next time we had to write. It got so frequent that I could write an entire article about a security breach in like 2 minutes flat, because it was so common. The verbiage was just second nature by that point. So that is an interesting and valid call out of if part of the reason why this move is being made for security, what are you going to do on your side to ensure that security is actually verifiable and there is a strong integrity there, versus are we just going to get hacked and have all of our information open to the public a month from now? And I think that's very valid. As somebody who has had my account stolen and hacked before based off of nothing I did, I get that frustration, especially if you have like credit card information or anything like that attached to your account. It's very scary. So that side, I also want to call out another localization issue. So when I was doing marketing, I did with Barnes & Noble for their Nook, an ad campaign. We had like Zoe Deschanel. It was a really cool ad campaign. And I worked with a team that it was in Recife, which Recife, Brazil is the most beautiful place. And I want to live there so bad. Oh my God. Except you will never feel as bad about yourself as you will there. Like, I felt like a potato. Like, don't perceive me, just make me into French fries. Make me useful to you beautiful, beautiful people. But seeing that also gave me a really interesting insight. And I've talked about this a little bit with the cost of gaming, that the cost is just incredibly high for tech over there. Despite Recife being, and Brazil being a huge tech hub of the world, to get a PlayStation 5 is like $1,500 in some areas. Technology, like actual tangible tech, is very expensive over there. So a lot of people just don't have PlayStation, or they have to pick one or the other because, again, that cost. There is also a lot of geo restrictions as well. There are some countries that literally cannot have access to PSN because it is geo-locked from that area. So if that's the case, if you go by that directive by itself, then by that logic, if you are in one of those countries, you can no longer play Helldivers 2 on PC because you do not have access to the PSN network. However, you can get around those geo restrictions with a VPN. You can set your IP and your VPN, your location, to a very specific place, in a place that is not geo-locked.
Oh my God.
Sorry, my house is haunted as fuck. Ghosts.
Hey there, demons. It's me, your boy.
But yeah, so like there are workarounds. Is that an encouraged workaround? I'm a big fan of VPN to be honest. But would a company want to encourage people working around the system? I don't know. I know Helldivers team, they don't really give a shit. But like, there are workarounds. But again, that's an additional step. And one of the arguments of this is I don't want another step to have to play a game I've already been playing. But you have a month. But I understand that it's the principle of the matter. And tying that in with the security conversation and Sony's historical play with community, I understand that it's not so much about the effort required and more about the fact that this is a thing to begin with. As we see more and more online games become the norm, as we see investors and shareholders that are coming in from outside of gaming spaces, but tech adjacent places, and their only concern is ROI, they don't give a shit about the quality of the experience. This is going to be a more and more prevalent conversation about account linking and how to access certain titles when it is cross-platform. Cross progression would be a really cool thing. That is also a playable conversation point that comes into that conversation when discussing if this is the move to make. Because when people are discussing this type of topic, they know it is going to be spicy. They know it is not going to be received with a lot of grace. And therefore, I really do believe that these types of decisions are not made lightly. I know this myself, having seen it on the back end side with numerous studios now. But I don't believe that it requires this much hate and vitriol. The Helldivers team has been so incredible. They have honestly, for me, set the state. Like, I would work for them in a heartbeat for like no pay. I would waive my pay to work with that team because I genuinely believe in their ethos. I genuinely believe in what they're doing. They seem like a really good team. But more than that, the CEO, the studio head, has shown time and time again he's willing to break the mold so players feel taken care of, they feel heard, they feel valued. And I don't want to see that all just act, because let's be honest, Twitter is like this. And I can just say this from my own personal account. 90% of my posts are shit posts, selfies, and just freaking out about video games. And then 10% is speaking up against the state of the industry and talking about mental health. I work as I volunteer as a crisis counselor on the weekends. Mental health conversations as a suicide survivor are very important to me. And I also get really tired of people only showing perfect on social media. I think if we were all a little bit more honest about struggles and mental trials, I think people will feel less alone about also going through something similar, but that is a tangent for another day. But with that ratio, only 10% being that, the second I post something like that, the responses, and you can go verify this yourself, the responses are always the same. Oh my God, stop bitching. Oh my God, fucking victim. There's a difference from being a victim and standing up for yourself. And the sooner you learn that, the happier and more solidified as a human being you will be. Don't project your shit onto me. That's not my problem.
It's like living in the food.
I've seen this with studios too. That same philosophy echoes to studios of just, you can do everything right, but the second you do something wrong, it's like everything you did right just does not exist. And what I don't want to see happen, because I am seeing the level of vitriol, and that level of vitriol has become even more so with certain wannabe influencers out here causing more shit just so he can get engagement numbers. I don't want to see them have to shutter down, not in terms of a business, but in terms of transparency, out of fear for safety of their team members. Because that is, if this continues, that is going to be the next logical step. And I just want to take everybody back to a time months ago. You know, this game's only been out for 3 months, when everybody was hailing them for how incredible their transparency was, how incredible their communication was, how incredible their game philosophy was and game design patterns were. And just remember that at the core, you love this game. This is a move that is spicy. And this is a move that I would encourage, if you feel strongly about, to deliver feedback to the appropriate feedback channels, whether that be Twitter or a forum or whatever. But I just urge you to remember that you are speaking to humans, especially when you're going to those forums and through Twitter and social media, that you are talking to people that had nothing to do with the decision. So to just keep your feedback concise, like how I said it here about going through the reasons of why people were upset, that's a great template to use. Those are very valid reasons. And no point did I say, go fucking die, you dumb, throw a temper tantrum. But I got the point across. And when you can get that point across like that, especially in the high volume that we're seeing now, that is when you're going to see the most amount of change because you look rational. You're having a rational conversation. When you're talking to somebody and they get upset and they just start screaming and spitting at the mouth, do you still take them seriously in that conversation, or is that conversation over in your head? Same thing applies. Not the conversation over part, because the conversation never ends, but it's harder to take you seriously when you cannot behave like a functioning human being. So by doing high volume, but in a respectful, clear, concise way, you are getting the message across in high volume. And what you are showing is you're showing investors, you're showing shareholders, you are showing publishers that this is a very rational community that is showing a very real frustration with something with the game that could potentially impact them even wanting to be a part of the community, therefore losing very valuable, rational, logical, even thinking, contributing members of that player base. That's all I'm going to say. So thank you guys. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully this gave a good breakdown. Hopefully if the people that are watching are pissed off about this, you can see the logic, and also you felt heard in my explanation as well, because I do understand the frustration. I'm not going to weigh in because I already gave my feedback to the appropriate forums. Y'all aren't entitled to that. And I don't feel like having that conversation because there's some other nuance that kind of factors into the level of feedback I provided. But I just want to encourage you to, remember, human to human. That's it. We're humans to humans. Have a good time. Enjoy. For if you already have an account, you've already been playing Helldivers, you have a month. Think about it. A lot can change in a month. We might see a retraction. We might see a double down. Who knows? We'll take it from there when we get there. Cross that bridge when we get to it. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate the hell out of you. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're prioritizing that self-care. I hope you're drinking that water. And to always remember, lead with your kindest foot forward, even when it's hard to do. Especially when it's hard to do. Italian hands.
I'm not French.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.